Hey everybody, this is Talkative Carl back again for another Father's Day movie month review. And today I'll be covering Despicable Me. Now, to be candid, this wasn't initially on the list. Towards the tail end of May, I just decided I need to throw this on there because I really want, mostly because I really want to rewatch the first Despicable Me movie, but I also forgot this is like a good Father's Day kind of movie. So I added it to the list, and yeah, I mean it still holds up. I mean, I gotta say, first I like the first two Despicable Me movies, and I think they should have stopped it there because with the third one, it was it wasn't terrible. It was it didn't hit the same way the first two did, and uh, then they did like the Minions movie, and then they gonna be bringing out a brand new one. It's like a prequel to where grew as a little boy, because after the Minions movie, you see it leads into them meeting a young Gru, looking for like a leader, and and this is and that's gonna be that story. Them you know, young Gru, forming into like a full fledged villain. But I'm not gonna be watching that because especially at the men's. I think people really got tired of the men's. There was like almost everywhere. It was annoyingly everywhere. Because I don't even know they speak in French, you know, French gibberish. Because you never know what they're saying. It's like it was a fun. They're fun side characters, but they should not be all in your face. But anyway, of course, this movie, directed by Chris Renaud and Pierce Coffin, starring Steve Carell as Gru, Jason Segel as Vector, Russell Brand as Dr. Nefario, Christian Wiig, who plays the orphanage, head mistress, Miss Hattie, who she returns as the new girlfriend uh, in the sequel. Christian Wiig, comes back as a different character in the sequel, uh, Lucy Wilde, which is kind of funny because it's kind of like too close to Olivia Wilde in my mind. Then you got Miranda Cosgrove as Margot, Will Arnett as Mr. Perkins. I didn't know that Dame McBride was in this movie as Fred McDade. I don't even know who that is. But and Julia Andrews as Marlena Gru, the mother. I don't really care for the mother in this. Probably in general throughout the franchise that I've seen. But anyway, Gru is, seemingly, I won't say seemingly, he's just like kind of like a villain that's past his prime kind of situation where he's still good. He's like, it's like a mad, almost like a, well, you got a mad scientist working for him, but he's like kind of like the funny version of Doctor Evil, and he's of course he got these like inventions and stuff like that, like a freeze ray, and he's freezing everybody in a coffee shop just so he can be the first one in line so he can just grab somebody's cup of coffee and like a muffin, and just he's you know he's subtly rude to his neighbor. It's like he's like he doesn't have it out for the neighbor. It was just like the neighbor's kind of like the Ned Flanders, but it's like uh he's just more like direct with the way he like grooves carry on is I appreciate if you don't I appreciate it if you like. He talks with a very subtle Doctor, about to say Doctor Jekyll, Dracula kind of tone of voice, especially when Margot mimics it. We cannot skip the dance class. And it's like, you little bums. Like, it's like, unless they're dead. But it's true. It was like, that kind of tone of voice. And it's like, wow, it's kind of Dracula. And I remember watching this interview a long, long time ago of Steve Carell as he's describing how he came up with the voice for Gru. And I could be misremembering, but I'm pretty sure he mentions that he got a bit of Dracula in it, just to come with like kind of like the evil people. But he had his plan on stealing the moon, like a crime of the century kind of situation. And like apparently in this universe, it's like a fair bit of like villains, in this world. There's like an organization for villains that he, that has like their own little secret bank that he goes to for like a loan. And it's like in a sequel, there's like a, like an organization that deals with the kind of stuff. It's like, clearly you ain't doing your jobs, because like now all of a sudden you exist, and it's like, because you got like a kid who's stealing like the Pyramid of Giza and replacing it with an inflatable replica. And it's like, there's no sense of anybody, like, maybe not superheroes, but it's like he's supposed to be like some kind of spy organizations to like be like the flip side of all these guys. And it's like, look like you not even like there until the sequel. They like, where were you when somebody's stealing like the pyramid, or when Gru eventually takes like the moon? You didn't like swoop in or do anything. You clearly knew he did it. But anyway, eventually I'll get to the sequel. But it's kind of weird. There's no antithesis to like the League of Villains. But anyway, Gru decides like, okay, I'm gonna go to this. And you see like this like one when he gets his first interaction with like Margot and her sisters Edith and Agnes. And I like these little girls, especially Edith, because she's like kind of like she got the vibe of Wednesday Addams, where she's like she getting like pancakes in the shape of a dead guy. She sees Thrill like, cool, mine's the shape of a dead guy. And it's like, I love Edith. But it's like, they selling cookies, and like he's pretending to be like, there's a recording, babe. And Agnes is like, oh, go. Goodbye, recording. And it's so funny. It's like, okay, it's pretty dang hilarious. This is kind of like Lego Movie. You didn't think it was gonna be good until like it really blows up and it's like more than just like a kid movie, especially when at the time it was like an original idea when this came out. But you can see like they're all friends, and like Miss Hattie is like like completely disinterested in like these kids like feelings or whatever. But you can tell like Margot's because since she's like slightly older, even though that she's not even like a teenager officially yet, she's been the one looking out for her sisters. So she's pretty much like, when you typically see that kind of thing, like the older sibling typically has to take the reins of looking after and growing up kind of fast, and like making sure like she has to be the one to look out, because nobody else apparently is going to look out for her or her sisters. Like she has to, since their parents are gone. Gru, pretty much his relationship with his mother is like rocky at best, because like you see flashbacks of him expiring to go to the moon like an astronaut, and she's like, it's too late. They already they already sent monkeys to the moon, and it's like it's just like mean for. I don't even know if she acknowledging the fact that she's being mean, or at least what she's saying. She just said it. It was just, whatever. It was like harsh. It was like, and in the end, you see like her mother's like, oh, she's proud of him, like for like you proud of him for what? Like you didn't like him, because he tried to be like a villain, maybe because you probably didn't give him any kind of encouragement and you inadvertently drove him that way, or he just didn't like. I think there's a little bit more fleshed out in the third film, but it's like maybe because you put more like energy into your kid for some encouragement. Maybe he'll start to do better in his life than become a supervillain. It was just like I never liked the mother in the entire franchise. He doesn't have any redeeming qualities whatsoever. But Gru goes to the loan office to talk to what was his name, Mr. Perkins, and it's like this big wall of a guy. It's kind of like, it kind of reminds me of the Kingpin in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. We just like this brick wall with a head on top, and like he points out that the kid that he bumps into earlier while he's in the waiting room is his son, Vector, who he later finds out that he's the one that stole the Pyramid of Giza, and like he's been denied the loan, and just out of just sheer pettiness, he leaves at the office and like takes out his freeze gun and frees Vector's head, and it's funny as hell. So he decides, okay, I'm gonna steal the shrink ray, just to get it in, or at least give Mr. Perkins a reason to give me the loan, to show that I'm not past my prime. So he steals the string array, where Vector swoops in and steals it from him and strings down his ship in like retribution for freezing his head. So now Gru's planning, okay, I gotta go to Vector's place, which ironically he doesn't live that far from Gru. He tried to break into Vector's fortress, but it got all these traps and gizmos, and like he's getting punched in the nuts by like a robotic arm with a boxing glove on the end, and like attacked by a shark, and and hit by missiles, and it's not making it through, failing every which way. It's hilarious moments. But then he sees like Margot and her sisters coming in and just waltzing on in because they're selling cookies, which, by the way, I love Girl Scout cookies. More specifically, the lemon ones. Those lemon bar, not lemon bar, but the lemon flavor. The lemon flavor ones. And like, man, I love it. I buy them the most. Then he gets the idea like, okay, he knows that they're from this orphanage. So like, I'm going to adopt these kids, at least temporarily, so that way I can have them go and distract Vector, so that way I can like, he's, coming on the idea, okay, I'm going to have Dr. Nefalio invent these cookie robots so that I can supplant them into the supplies for the girls to deliver inside, so they can be my way in. So disguised as like a doctor or a dentist, I should say, he adopts the three girls, and uh the girls like making a joke like when I when we got adopted, I thought by a rich bald guy, I thought it was gonna be like Annie. And that got a laugh out of me. That still get a laugh out of me. The whole the parallels here. But Margot said we're gonna make we got adopted. And it's like so rare. Well, I don't know if it's rare anymore because it should be like a standard now. But it was a period in time where like siblings who are orphaned when they when they're adopted, they usually don't go for the older one or they don't adopt all of them together. Now it's like I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on this, but is always worry of that in past of separating siblings when they're like getting adopted. Now it's like I'm pretty sure it'd be more like a standard, like you got siblings that are orphans, you gotta make sure you get them both so that way they don't get separated, that kind of thing. uh so uh Now they come in his house and like they seen like this whatever it is, and they call it a dog. So we'll just call it a dog. This weird dog thing they call Kyle, and he's just usually kind of small but ravenous, but he's afraid of Agnes above anybody else. And they paint that dog pink, and just like he just completely get like owned by these girls, and like Gru's trying to just like with my review of like the game plan. Uh, Check that out on the channel as well. It's part of the Father's Day movie month review, where like his daughter make like this big old mess in the kitchen. So the girls, Edith, it gets one that's like a no, it wasn't like was it the this little weird ray gun, but like but they did something where then Gru's like he's so like disinterested in actually raising his kids. He laying down like like signs where it says like with a like a dog like a pail for like they treat them like dogs. It's like here's a tray for candy, like kids like candy, right? So this is your food. There's a little mat where you can pee and poop, and it's like he's just like you treat them like pets essentially, and he's laying down ground rules like, okay, like don't no laughing, no crying, no annoying sounds. And it's like to this day is my favorite scene. To this day is my favorite scene from Despicable Me. And little Agnes is like, cause I do this to my little brother and it drove him crazy because it's just like this mess with him. Cause she goes, does this count as annoying? Very. Oh my god, it's like that's so doggone funny. It cracks me up every time I see it. I was like, God, it's like, does this count as annoying? And it's like, I just want to do that to like just random people. It's like, please don't be annoying. I just want to just do this. Does this count as annoying? just to fuck with somebody. But it's just like it's like he realized these kids are like kind of like rambunctious. It's like, okay, you gotta lay some ground rules because these kids are gonna run amok. But he's like, and he's like, don't touch this, and Margot just to be defiant, like, what about the air? Yes, you can touch the air. What about the ground? Can we touch? Yes, you can touch the ground. And then like Edith's like, can we touch this? And got out the laser gun, like, where'd you get that? I found it. And it's like, of course, because kids get their hands on every goddamn thing. You didn't even know how. But that scene is just entirely just comedy gold. But they find him in his little secret laboratory lair, and it's like he tells him like, like, oh, I'm really a spy. And then like Edith once again finds another laser gun and vaporizes Agnes's unicorn doll, and she's like, fix it, fix it. It's disintegrated. By definition, it can't be fixed. And then she holds her breath just to like get him to do what he wants. And he sends like 3 of his minions to go buy her a new one. And the next day, you think like, well, later on at night, as he's like, put him into bed, and like Margot is just like, you can see like how Margot's feelings towards him at this point, considering her age. It's like, just so you know, I'm never gonna call you dad. Like, you'll never be my dad or something like that. It's like, I can live with that, because he's not even caring at this point. But that little small little moment, it's like, you see like, okay, like Margot's clearly like, she was probably, whatever happened to the parents was probably like some tragic accident or something like that. Considering this is a cartoon and like you got a guy who literally get hit by tons of like missiles and lasers and stuff by like another supervillain. I'm surprised their parents or death means anything in this universe, but maybe they just got abandoned. I don't know. That would probably be a better like like a sequel, like where happened to these people's parents? Did they act? Because obviously death doesn't mean crap, but they probably just like, it's probably a little bit more to mind from this kind of story if they just actually left them and they trying to adopt or get them back or something like that, and they turned out to be scumbag people and grew, and his wife trying to deal with that. That'll be like a better than like a Despicable Me prequel. But anywho, the next day, like he okay, we're gonna get these. They got the cookie robots, and now we're gonna have to get these people out to like Vector's house. But they dress in like ballerina outfits, and it's like we got dance class, we got dance practice. It's like we're not doing that. We got to skip the dance class. We cannot skip the dance class. And just out of defiance, it's like, well, fine, we'll walk there. And so of course, like Groot relents, despite him saying like, oh, it's one of those typical things in the movies where like when a character says they're not gonna do something, but they end up doing it anyway. So he's sitting with the moms as like while the girls are practicing their dance routines, like 1 2 3 and 1 2 3, and then Agnes dances over and like hands on a piece of paper about like the dance recital and the date and stuff like that. And like and she promised like she asked him, will you be there? Yes, I will be there. Pinky promise? Oh yes, my pinky promises. And it's like, this is cute, and she gives this cute little yeah. And then you see like there's a nice little like, well, it's not camera work, but like where it's like pans over to the other moms and they all just gushing how like adorable like he's being with the girl. He just like doesn't know what's going on. It's like, it's so funny. And it's like just being a dad, and it's like he's being a dad without without really thinking he's doing it. But then he finally like brings those girls over to the Vector's house to deliver the cookies, and they just messing with Vector, calling his his uniform pajamas. It's like, it's not pajamas, it's a warm-up suit. And like Jason Segel's like voice for Vector is very nasally, like your stereotypical nerd. Like, and he mentions that when he's talking with his father, it's like, because I forgot what his actual name is, but like, that's my nerd name. Now it's Vector. It stands for direction and magnitude. Oh yeah, that kind of thing. It's so freaking funny. Like it's a warm up suit. Uh, Even though he has a hairstyle like Mo from Three Stooges. Uh, uh, and it's nice to see like the parallels between like how like all these parents raise their kids and what they turn out to be like. You know, Perkins, the way he like you see like a picture frame on his desk, like he's when his son was like a lot younger, like an infant, he was obviously like gushing over his boy. But now that he's a little older, he's a little more hard on him, considering that I guess he's hard for a good reason to have him like stand on his own 2 feet. But it's like you can tell like Vector probably got picked on a lot because like his name was like a nerd name and kind of thing. So just like with Gru's mom, it's like if she was a bit more like encouraging, maybe he wouldn't go to the route of a villain, and Vector probably wouldn't go to a route of a villain if Perkins probably wasn't a villain himself and probably guided his son that way to like maybe like, oh well, you crush your enemies kind of thing and they make them fear you to avoid like being picked on kind of. I guess I can definitely see parallels there with like the way like kids are being raised, and Gru's obviously going like a different route when it comes to these girls. But he, thanks to the cookie robots, they help him break in, but they seal the door, the opening they made for him shut too early. So he gets the shrink ray and he has to sneak out Mission Impossible style with the shrink ray. And like, on the way back home, they passing by this amusement park and the kids going nuts, and like Gru getting this idea, oh, I could just abandon the kids at the amusement park. But they go to the amusement park and like he can't leave them there, and it's not allowed to, like the parents always gotta constantly watch them. So he's, bitching and moaning. But Agnes sees like this big stuffed unicorn, and like you gotta throw the like use a water gun and knock down this little alien thing, and this snobby little arrogant snot-nosed teenage boy saying like, oh, like oh, too bad, like maybe next time. I was like, and even though it's I guess technically he did say you gotta knock it over, but like even though it was hit and it wasn't a water gun, it was like they're shooting balls at it, but it's like it's one of those rigged little. I think amusement parks are like when it comes to those games, is most of those gotta be rigged in some shape or form, because that ball is a tennis ball. I believe it's a tennis ball. It looks like a tennis ball, and that should easily knock down this little paper mache thing, a little alien thing. But and it's going all over the place, and it's like all these little gizmos is like popping out all over the place trying to distract you. But Gru is like flabbergasted, like, whoa, she hit that thing. It's like it's like, and then the boys is like just being like a dickhead, and it's like, oh, sorry, little girl, guess next time. I was like, you little shit. And then Gru just like ain't having none of that. I was like, fine, my turn. And he takes out this big ass weapon that shoots a miniature sun thing and is blasted and shoots out the entire back wall of this whole gizmo, and like knocked over, and it's like and the kid's hair smoking and stuff like that. Whoa, you blew up the entire. Edith was like, oh, you blew up the entire thing, and Mario like, that was awesome. And like Agnes got her big stuff unicorn, and it's like so fluffy, and like and then they end up bonding to do this whole entire like trip to this amusement park. His face painted, and they're having fun. It's like something that Per Gru haven't had in quite some time. Through the eyes of like, thanks to these kids, you get to have kind of fun that you probably missed out on for quite some time. Of course, Dr. Nefario is kind of like ain't having none of that. It's like we got a few days before the moon is in optical alignment, but we can't afford any distractions. And of course, he's on a video conference call with Perkins, showing that he got the strength array, not realizing he stole it from his own son. Uh, 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 and of course, Gru's getting distracted by with the girls who keep busting in, like messing with him. Uh, but Perkins still denying him like the loan that he swore like he would at least have like a discussion about it. But but thanks to the girls and like the minions, they offer up any bit of like change that they had to like afford to just is just shy enough to get them get him, because it's like a nice sweet moment between like a father and a daughter. It's like like I'm willing to like give up any piece of money in my piggy bank just to help you achieve your dream. And it's just like it was a warm-hearted moment. Like your kid will offer just to help you achieve your dream. Your own kid will offer up their whatever piece of money they have in their own piggy bank just to fund your dream. That was so sweet of a moment. And like uh, but while like Nefario is getting everything prepped, typically he's like with Gru getting this whole thing organized, like they typically always been, just these two and the minions. But now thanks to his girls, he thinks like they're a distraction for him. He's not there. His partner's not there with him like he typically is. So he calls the orphanage, tell him to take the kids back, which is puts Gru in a sullen mood. But he's steals himself and decides to go ahead forward with the mission. And the mission happens to be on the same night as the girls' recital. And Gru, thinking he could still make it back in time for to catch their recital, at the same time still acquired the moon. But he doesn't make it in time. But he realized Vector kidnapped the girls. And so he brings the shrunken moon to Vector. And despite him giving up the moon to him, he still refused to give the girls back. And like it's like an awesome one, like, because when it comes to a parent, when it comes to their kids, they turn to a effing savage. Like you see them become like a monster you never see them come before kind of situation. And it's like he looks at the camera wall thing, and it's like, you listen to me, little punk. Like, if you don't give me the girls right now, I'm gonna come in there and beat you. And it's like, and Vector's not hearing it. You think he's bluffing, and he just punches the camera and just breaks the doggone thing. And it's like, oh, and like Gru, despite earlier in the movie where all these little traps and gizmos was put him like out of commission, like he's fighting for something other than himself this time. So he's like this is like Gru as like prime villain. It's like he punched the shark and like jumps over missiles and just he's on like a war path at this point. And like Vector tries to fly off, thanks to Dr. Nefario, he's catching up to the ship, and Nefario mentions that because wherever the way the shrink ray is designed, ain't the larger the thing that you shrunk, the quicker the effects wear off and it goes back to normal. So you see, like on the ship of Vector ship, the moon's starting to like slowly regrow, and like that gives Gru the opportunity, getting these kids back. And he gets Edith and Agnes, but with Margot, it takes a little encouragement because like she's having a hard time trusting because it's always been her and the girls, and she looked at Gru thinking like he just abandoned them all over again, and it's like he asked her to trust him even though it was Dr. Nefario's fault and he didn't want to do that, but I guess he could have fought harder or at least went directly to the orphans and got them right away from that moment. But he gets Margot, and like Vector gets shot to space while he's literally on the moon as it's regrowing back into its orbit. And don't know how he's getting back, but I imagine somebody gets him back. He's not dead. He got this little invention thing to give him like oxygen. So the movie ends with like since he missed their recital, he holds like a thing in his lab with like the minions, one of the minions on DJ, and his mother and Dr. Nefario and Gru and the minions all sit together to watch them dance. And then like the Grus gets on the stage and and they dance together, and the movie ends pretty much with a dance party. But yeah, I love Despicable Me. It was fun. Very few issues I have with it, except from like well, I was going to say certain decisions, but I think the decisions align somewhat with the story decently. But I just don't care for the mom. The mom is probably like the only thing I didn't care for. And like, I don't know what happened to Perkins. Did he go and get his son? Or, he just kind of, after he had like a powwow with his son about like his shrink ray being stolen by Gru, and it's like you never see him ever anymore in this movie. As a matter of fact, ever since the first movie, I don't know what happened to Perkins. Like, did he get his son back? And that's another thing. In like a movie that should be better, it's like, all the villains that we got from the first two movies. The first three movies, they should like team up to go after Gru and his family in revenge or something like that. That would be like a great movie. Don't know why they didn't bother to make that a thing instead of Minions movie or a prequel Despicable Me movie. I don't know why we need either one of those. But a movie with these prior villains teaming up to take their revenge out on Gru and his family, that is something that I would love to see. But anyway, if you've seen Despicable Me, leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought of that film. The pros and cons of it that you saw in the film. Leave a like, subscribe. For more future movie reviews and TV shows reviews, comic book reviews, and of course video game walkthroughs that I have down the pipeline. And you can definitely check out my current video game walkthrough of me replaying Final Fantasy VII Remake on my PS5 this time, and not the PS4 like I did a couple years back. And I'll see you guys next week for more Father's Day movie reviews. I got 2 more coming back to back. It's like a part 1 and 2 of it, of the kind of the same film. But yeah, I'll see you guys soon.